Hey everybody, it's your girl Angela with Ghost Hunting Beauties, and today my special guest is Lynette from SPI, which is Spring Paranormal Investigations.
Yes, ma'am.
So you probably have seen her from our series before. We've got into a lot of serious topics, a lot of fun, a lot of exciting topics, and she has been just incredible. She's gone along with us with these investigations. She has been, these spirits are talking to her and she's teaching us along the way. And today, we're going to get into some of the great stories that she has because she has a lot of experience in this field and a lot of things she can teach us. So let's start off we'll start with something tame. We'll start small and we'll get into the grander stories later.
All right.
So tell me about one of the stories of something that stood out to you when you first started working with SPI.
There's so many. All right, I will go with the first thing that popped into my head. We were at one of the first investigations that I remember when I was still picking up on things. I picked up on something in like a doorway, and it was an angry male, and I was sitting facing it, and Michelle was closer to it, and she didn't tell me, but she had her 𝗨𝗀meter, and she was recording.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, the activity, the energy from where she was next to the door. And she would ask me, like, do you still feel it there? Is someone still there? What's going on? And you can hear me going, oh, it's getting stronger. Or, no, he left. And she showed me later, she recorded it. And you can hear me talking and you can see the 𝗨𝗨meter reacting.
What?
And that was, do you remember that?
Oh,
off camera. Yeah. So that was pretty cool because I'm like, wow. I'm like, I'm glad that she did that and showed me because it validated. Because I'm like, at that point, I was like, I feel it, but how real is it?
Right.
So that was one of the first experiences that we had, and that it was directly validated. So that was cool. That was an interesting case. But
so we mentioned before that you have the whole spectrum pretty much. So you're a medium, you're an empath, that you have all these abilities. What is a case that you can think of that you were working on to where these skills really just made the difference?
There's so many cases, and that's hard to narrow down because, it helps with every case. We rely on everybody's skills. I'm trying to think of, I always go back to the earlier ones when we were first discovering things because that made, I guess, a bigger impact on me at the time. So just the skills cumulatively?
Sure. Like where maybe either, or even just being a medium or being an empath, where these things were really just absolutely what helped the case.
Oh boy.
I know so many.
There were one of the other first cases that we started. We brought it up in another podcast. We were dealing with something at the house and something that would follow me home. And it's weird because it wouldn't be there in the morning. And then I would leave for work and I'd come home and I would pull in and I would just look at the house or the apartment at that time and go, oh, somebody's in there. And I remember from the case.
Apartment? Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
and
my
I would
gosh.
unlock the door and I remember kicking it open with my foot and going, hello. I'm like, oh, I got to walk in there. It's a weird feeling when you have to walk in your own apartment and you're and I didn't know how to handle things quite as well as
because it was fresh, right?
Yeah, it was fresh. So that whole summer, we were visited by this one. We'll call him a spirit, and you had to tap into everything because he was all over. I remember taking my laundry, walking it to the laundry building, and I could feel like there were a million people out there watching me. But I knew that wasn't intentional. And I went to work, and there was someone from that case, and they don't usually follow me to work, that was hanging around with me at work. And it's like there was always somebody from that case with me. And it was just, It was weird. And it's kind of awkward to channel if you're alone. And I've always, for the most part, lived alone, and I didn't have as much control. I feel like I've got better control now. And I remember I would go in and start channeling something at night in my apartment unintentionally. And I'm like,
oh no,
because you're partially there, right? But you can tell. I always say it's like somebody's looking out through your eyes along with you. And I'd be like, what?
Been there.
Amy, the team didn't live close. And I'd be like, what's going to happen now? But that that had the gauntlet of, there was just always something going on. If I was doing errands, if I was at the apartment, if I was at work, it was crazy.
Why was it attaching to you? Do you know?
It was a group. Oh gosh, there's more that's coming. Okay.
They're all coming at once.
It was a group thing. I guess it was to maybe intimidate and to spy a little bit.
That's interesting.
The first beginning part of this case, and I'm sorry if I'm going out of order, but things are
you're good.
kind of coming back. I remember I was in bed at night and I couldn't sleep. And I remember visually looking over at my door, and there was a big shadow figure, and I see things third eye. I don't always see things like that. Standing there, and his head reached the top of the door jamb.
Oh my God.
And that's the only way out of my bedroom to the front door. So he kind of blocked it. And I remember going, I remember telling Amy the next day about it. And I'm like, I don't think it has to do with this current case. And she's like, don't bet on it. Because I didn't know that much about the case yet.
Wow.
But I couldn't leave. So I did something I don't normally do. I put the covers over my head. I was too scared to do anything.
Covers can save you. Like all I can say is I don't even have a toe poking out of my covers at night. I've got weighted blanket, heated blanket, and covers.
At some point, I fell asleep. I don't know how. And, I woke up the next morning and I'm like, what the? I'm like, did I imagine that? And I'm like, no, because I was scared to death. I even flipped. I was like sleeping at the foot of my bed, curled up with all like my pillows and my blankets on my head. So,
reminds me of that song where it says, I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Pretty much. It was interesting.
Behind the shower.
Yeah. I look at it now and it was kind of cool. It was discovery of stuff. At least my part of it was not, nothing really bad happened to me.
Right. This is exciting but scary at the same time.
The totality of the case was not good. So we'll put that out there. I feel like the easy end of what was going on because there was some serious stuff happening with the client. So that part was definitely not fun. But it was definitely an experience and it was definitely interesting.
Very cool. And so this was early on when you were starting.
Very early on.
Do you get more activity now? Are you ever able to just like block it out?
I feel like, it depends on the case. And I feel like I'm better at just automatically blocking things out. It's kind of just something that's kind of evolved. And I also feel like things don't always manifest to me as much because I'm not pumping out fear. I feel like if you're putting out fear, they've got more to pull on. And I just feel like more is going to happen. And, it's like, I still get scared, but a lot of the time it's like, you got to try harder than that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're a little jaded. So I felt like I got more startled back then, but as I've gotten better control.
Because that's me now. I get startled. So I think that's part of, one thing that all of you have taught me is that the fear is they play on that.
Any strong emotion. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I've got to work on too as we keep progressing along with doing these things and going on cases. So what was the point that you knew like this was it for you? Like the case that you said, I'm sure there's plenty, but one that maybe sticks out in your head that this case, you're like, I got this. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
I've got this. It was the case that I just described. That's when everything just started coming to me very, very clearly. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, is this just this case or is it going to stick? Mm-hmm. So
was this a demonic kind of case, if I can ask? So demonic.
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of things with the case that I wasn't even involved in directly, but it still affected me greatly. So I'll never forget that case. It was something.
So with all the things you've seen, you must have seen some interesting things, some crazy things, some terrifying things. Like of all the things that you've seen, is there anything that stands out as being that was just terrifying? Something that sticks with you?
I got to go back to that case again.
The same one.
That case was...
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so one night I came home from work and usually in the apartment, the spirits, I would find them waiting in the living room. But this one particular spirit, I came in and he was in my bedroom on the next to between the bed and the closet in the farthest
Whoa.
in you could get into my bedroom.
Oh, no.
And he was deliberately kind of trying to be intimidating looking. And I'm like, what the? I'm like, you can't be in my room. I'm like, I'm going to go get a shower because I didn't,
Right.
like, I don't know what to do. So I went and I took a shower and then I got myself
amped up.
And I came out of the shower and there's like a wall between the master bath and I like had a towel and I'm like, my head's full of soap and I'm like, listen, you can't be here and you better go by the time I'm out of the shower. And I just blurted off a bunch of stuff and I'm like,
oh, wow.
I went back in the shower and I'm like, I sure told him. And then I got out of the shower and I'm like, oh, heck.
Oh,
so
damn.
I went and looked around the wall. I'm like, hey, friend, are you still there? And he was gone. He's probably like this lady.
He's like, I'm out.
I can't deal with this drama tonight. So he left. But I don't recommend handling things that way with spirits. Again, just learning.
It worked, though. It worked for you.
It worked, but I don't recommend it. I'm like, oh, he listened to me. I'm like, I hope I'm not in trouble with the rest. But he didn't come back. So.
Oh, well, that's good.
That should go on a SBI, how not to handle things.
There you go.
But again, it was the very, very, very beginning, and we've all learned so much since then.
Right. So when you say this is a what not to do, so what can happen potentially if you do that, if you are calling out in that manner, or what is it exactly that you shouldn't do?
Well, it's like, what do you think is going to happen if you're being confrontational with an angry person who's alive, or someone with even an angry person with, let's pretend they have superhuman powers.
Right.
You could get attacked. I mean, anything could happen, especially if you're alone. And I was alone. You could make them angry. They could retaliate. They could, and this is just a big leap. They could have other spirits retaliate. And we're talking about
like gang up, like spirits ganging up.
Yeah. I mean, they could do whatever they want. Also, this same case.
Spirit gangs.
I'm telling you, this same case too. I remember one night I came home and I was walking through my apartment and they weren't in the apartment. He had something stationed outside. So any window that I walked through, I saw these things on the outside looking in. So I felt like trapped in my apartment.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's
a whole different level right there.
I mean, this case,
spirit gangs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this case, I mean, I'll never forget it. Anything that you can think of that they could try to do, well,
man,
knock on wood.
Right.
So,
man, that's intense.
You think it's scary. It's scary feeling like you're trapped in your apartment. Again, I had one front door, so I'm like, what am I going to do if I need to get out of here? These guys are like at every window.
Especially in your own home.
Yeah.
So before you go on to a case, you said a lot of them come to your house. You're experiencing this beforehand.
Yes.
Was there ever anything that you felt you weren't prepared for in a home when you walked in? Maybe something that caught you off guard?
You know, there's different things. You'll go into a home and sometimes you'll just feel it. You'll be like, oh, this one might be a little tough because it feels heavy. Or you'll see somebody sometimes they're just spirits just standing right there, like waiting for you. And you're like, oh, hey, friend, I come in peace. I'm saying it or I'm thinking it.
Like peace.
I'm like, I really just, want to help you, honestly.
Right.
A little nice talk either out loud or in my head. Gosh, I'm trying to think of, we had one where Amy and I were in a room and the guys were in the living room and we had a spirit who was echoed through the house because we heard her. She screamed and then she would start laughing.
Well, that's weird.
And we caught it on film, but that's like, what do you do with that?
What?
You're like, okay, because all four of us heard her and it was definitely...
Like she's unstable?
Yes, that's exactly
that's like I said, that's level 3 right there. We're branching into the levels here when they start cackling and then crying.
Yeah. Nope. And this, again, this was a house. The clients are gone. It was out in the middle of nowhere. It was just the four of us. It's a controlled environment, no TVs. It was definitely within the house and we caught it on recording. I don't tell stories unless we were sure as a team what it was and what it wasn't. I just don't, I want to be sure, represent us properly. So that was unexpected. I like the little unexpected things because it's you go in thinking you can't ever let your guard down because even those cases that seem really calm, you never know.
Right. I let my guard down. That was my mistake. I was tired. A lot of times I'm sure that you guys get really tired.
that is toward the end of the night sometimes. That's for sure. But you got to try to stay as alert as you can.
Mm-hmm.
This one particular spirit that I just referenced, she had some problems when she was living. So she was having problems. She wasn't a bad spirit. This was a human spirit that we ended up helping. Yeah. And that part of her reaction was part of the thing she dealt with when she was alive. So we were very happy to help her. So that case had a good conclusion.
Oh, that's great. So with helping, and what do you mean by helping? Does that always mean crossing over, or does that mean just giving them peace of mind and counseling them? What would helping mean to you?
It's both of those things, honestly. I think, and I'm speaking for me and maybe as the group, that a lot of times we hold ourselves here by unfinished business. It's not always somebody or something saying, no, you can't leave.
Mm-hmm.
You're caught in your own head. Something's unresolved. You're upset, just something. And it weighs on you, and you stay and you play it over and over. And it's almost like you're in your own hell. It's not always that way, but a lot of troubled spirits. We had a case where I remember looking at some pictures of the house interior, and I'm like, man, this is a weird story. I don't know if I can tell the group what's going on here. And Amy ended up, through me, counseling one of the spirits there, who was an adult male, who had done some incredibly things I've never heard of. Truth is stranger than fiction. And Amy had a long conversation with him through me. It was a couple of hours.
Through you?
Yes.
Oh,
that's a channeling thing. And like, you come out of it, and after about 5 minutes, I don't even remember. I couldn't tell you what the conversation was, because it was me, but it really wasn't me.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you, is if you remembered it. Do you feel it?
Initially, you remember being present for it, but the longer time goes by, you don't recall it, because you really were just kind of, it's almost like you're in your head, but you're taking a back seat in somebody else's. You're allowing them to. And so this spirit really was sorry and really needed to talk about what had happened with him. And it was a tremendous help. I don't think he would have ever moved on if he didn't get that resolution. And sometimes it's just
true.
It's just telling us. It's odd, because it's a simple thing that you would think wouldn't hold someone, but it does. And then I feel like a lot of them could cross without our help, possibly, but they seem to like the support. It's interesting. I mean, they're just people. So
because we're all scared of the unknown, I'm sure. Yeah. So going into a light and feeling guilty about something you did here, like, I think that maybe just from what I've seen and heard, and if it was me personally, if I did something bad, then I would be scared that maybe I'm not going to a good place.
Yep. You bring up a very good point that some of the spirits are concerned with.
Mm-hmm. And so you help them through counseling, and that's through being a medium where they're talking through you?
Yeah, or through a meditation, a guided meditation. Yes. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, several things. It's easier than the yes/no questions that we can do when we're just in a large group doing the initial investigation. It flows better. It's fluid, and
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how does it make you feel knowing that not only are your gifts helping your team, but you're helping people that's passed on but haven't gone to that next point? Like, how does it feel to be able to provide that for them?
I feel like probably eventually they would have moved on. That's my personal thought. But if you work with spirits enough, it's honestly, it sounds strange, but it's almost like you've helped a friend. So I get emotional like I am now, because some of them you really get attached to, and you would never hold them back, of course, because you want the best for them, but it just really feels good to help them. I mean, that's what I think we're here on earth for, is to learn and to help each other. So it's just, it's a great feeling. I think the team would agree. That's one of the best parts, helping the clients obviously get peace of mind and resolution. And the other larger part of that too is helping the spirits,
For sure.
It's a good feeling. And I know a lot of teams aren't sure what to do. They'll diagnose hauntings and things. And then most people don't know what to do from there. They'll refer, or they don't have a reference. We're very fortunate that we've come across help in situations and education that we are able to assist a little further. And so we're not just leaving the client and the spirits and saying, we did the best we could. This is all we can do. We have to go home now. We can follow through. We always follow through.
So it's not just going, you're haunted by.
Yeah. And, sometimes that's all people know. So I'm not really faulting them.
Right.
And initially we were like that, but just very early on. But quickly we came to, hey, we can do more than that to help the client. We can do more than that to help the spirits. So, yeah, you'd be surprised how spirits become so real to you. And then if they appear again in like a meditation, I know I sound crazy. It's like seeing an old friend. And you see that
I love it.
Yeah, that you see that they're doing good. It's a good feeling.
So have they have come back to tell you they're okay?
They have. Sometimes in meditations, we'll have spirits that offer to help us.
Wow.
And they'll come back if we have like a special situation. We'll be like, we might have a spirit for that. Let's see if we can, so-and-so said they might help us. Let's see if we can maybe contact them and they can help.
Cool.
So that's always nice. We've had assistance sometimes from some of them who have offered.
Wow. That, like I said, that's even next level higher than what we were talking about before. Went from gang spirits to spirits that are like helping you and assisting you. You couldn't ask for better help. It's like they're already there.
Right.
So they can help. They help them cross, or
they can do that, or they can talk to them. Usually if we help spirits cross from the other side, there'll be either someone will walk with them, or there's someone from the other side, like a friend or a family member that will help them. We're just not like, see you later. We want to make sure that they're in good hands so that they get safely, on their way. And like I said, we see everything through to the end.
That's very special. And that's, like I said, that's why you guys stand out among anyone I've ever seen, because your priority is always not only just to your client, but to help the spirits as well.
Exactly.
So you're not just going, spirit be gone. You're going, how can I help you? What are you going through? And counseling. Now that's something I haven't heard of until you guys. And I love it, because that is just so special. Like I said, anything happens to me, I'm hoping you guys will be there for me too.
Right.
So that's all we could ask for.
It is good. It's support. And like I said, it comes over years of experience and us as a group, how we work together and things that we've all contributed. And it comes together beautifully, I think. I'm proud of us as a group.
I love it. I've never seen anything like you guys. You guys are very unique and special, and I love it. And so that kind of leads into my next question.
Really?
So you've got spirits that you can counsel and help cross over. Have you ever encountered one that just didn't go?
Yeah. If there's a human spirit who just does not want to go, of course, we're not going to force anyone. Sometimes we're in a situation where there's a problem and it might be harmful for the client, where we might have to elicit some help and be a little bit more persuasive with things. But if it's a spirit that's not causing any conflict and they seem like at some of the historical places, this was my home. I'm really content to be here. We're going to say, okay, we'll leave you be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you ask them that. You give them the choice instead of just walking in with the what is it, the vengeful verb? I don't know if that's the right phrase to just get out, if they're not causing any harm.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Then we'll leave them be. It's not our place. We offer help and assistance. We're not going to make anybody do anything for the most part, unless it's a extenuating circumstances and we have to step things up a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So leading into my next question is, you've had interesting cases. You've had cases where you've helped. You've even had them come back and visit, which that's really special. That's the validation there to let you know I did good.
Yeah.
Like, especially even with them helping you. That's just so crazy.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like crazy in a good way though.
Yeah.
But I wonder, a lot of the things you've experienced out there, what is another instance, since you have so many, that stands out to you, whether it's a really good feel-good story, one that you really connected to with your heart?
A lot of the same ones come up. The one with the gentleman that did amazingly interesting things when he was alive, who we spoke to for several hours, that we got to a good place so he could cross, and he still comes back and helps us. That he holds, I think, a special place in a lot of our hearts. That was just feeling good, because we're like, gosh, if we can help that guy, we're
Right.
confident. You know what I mean? We could help anybody because that was a crowning achievement. So we're really proud of being able to help him because that was special. That really was.
That's really awesome.
So as long as some spirit's genuine and they genuinely want our help, we'll help them. We're not going to mess around with anybody who's deceitful, or it's kind of a situation by situation, but
right.
a lot of them just genuinely want help. So
that's really incredible.
Yeah.
Like I said, you guys are unique. I've never seen anything like this. It's really touching to know that this still stays with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I could say I appreciate it. As a person that, has had paranormal experiences in my life, it's nice to know, instead of what the movies teach us, that everything's doom and gloom and everything's demonic and evil, that there's really just spirits that just need someone to talk to, need some help, and just want to feel connected to.
It is that simple. And I think sometimes they're surprised because we come in wanting to talk, and they're expecting it feels like they know that we're coming, and they're like, oh, are they going to try to get rid of us? Or like, wait, there's somebody that sees us and they want to talk to us, because chances are nobody's tried. Sometimes the homeowner will try, but they're grateful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Is there any others that stand out besides the gentleman there?
I'm sure. Oh, I was not going to say that one. If you want, you could. Okay, so there was another, and this is more of a personal thing, but we were going to clear a spirit whose name was Rex.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the apartment, and the homeowner never showed up. So we couldn't help him. So we kind of are like, we'll help you later. We have ways we can meditate and pull him and help him if he still wants help. So I remember being really disappointed, because we waited in the parking lot a long time for this person to show up, the client.
Aww.
And my teacher, the gentleman who's the Taoist priest who's helped us, and he said to me, he said, Lynette, everything happens for a reason. I'm like, what? The person just didn't want to show up? That's kind of cruddy. So we drove back,
True too.
and I had to leave from the house where we all met at and go back to my house. And I felt the spirit. I just felt him right here. And I'm like, okay, well, he's just disappointed that we couldn't. I'm like, Rex, we'll help you.
Right.
Got to my apartment, and we got back normally earlier than if we would have done the clearing. And normally I was used to staying up late, and I would be up until at least 1 a.m. taking a shower, or would be coming home from the clearing about that time. I never go to bed early. Well, this particular...
I wouldn't either.
Right? Well, now I do, because it was a lot of the time. But this particular spirit just he didn't leave. And I was tired, and I'm like, I'm not sure what this guy wants. So instead of taking a shower, I was getting a little frustrated with him.
Oh, no.
I know. I was. And I'm like, I'm just going to bed because I don't know what he wants. And
you're like, good night.
Yeah, kind of. And so I laid down and I went to sleep early, which was out of character. And that night there was a shooting in my apartment complex. Somebody was trying to kill the neighbor above me. And I got 36 bullet holes in my apartment while I was asleep in my bed. There were 3 that came within a couple feet of my head. If I would have been sitting up, or if I had heard the gunshots and stood up, I would have gotten hit, because one of the people above me got hit by a bullet. They weren't seriously injured.
Oh, no.
And it's a long story. I give credit to this spirit. I guess there's a little more to the story, but that's the general idea. And then I never saw him after that. And honestly, if it wasn't for him, I would have been up with my normal routine, doing my normal thing.
Maybe that's why.
And I don't sleep now. Somehow I slept through the entire thing, and I woke up when it was all over with. I don't know. I guess it wasn't my time, if you believe that, but I believe he saved me from any serious injury or anything like that.
See, spirit team.
Yeah, I mean, you help them and they help you, but that was a good feeling. I believe there's only so much. You can't interfere with a grand plan, but where they can step in with certain things, I believe they want to help us. So that was an example of that. That was really
I
nice.
definitely believe that, because I have my brother, that my mother's mom had held up his arm while he was sleeping. And she's been long past.
Yeah.
She passed, I think, around 76, 77. It was before I was born.
Yeah.
That, my sister-in-law, Monica, that she looked over in the middle of the night, he was breathing funny, and she saw his arm being held up. And she didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
So just kind of confusing. And she had went and told my mother this story. My mom goes, that's what my mother used to do to check on us. And so I believe they can help us, that maybe he was having trouble breathing, or maybe there was something happening.
Yeah.
But I do believe spirits really can help us.
Yeah.
So that's great that you had that connection too. Like I said, I wish I knew what my spirit team was, that I could look around and go team, go.
Well, I never saw him again after that. We also had, real quick, I had one instance where I had the flu. I was diagnosed with influenza A. It was, I think...
Ooh, not fun.
I think it was like 2016. It was the history of the great influenza, the Spanish flu.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a woman we had helped from another case who's now kind of a spirit guide to us. But at that time, she was just someone we were familiar with. And I thought it's because I was running a temperature. And again, I live alone. I woke up, I think, 3 times in the course of that night, and she was standing over me.
Whoa.
And it makes me emotional. And making motions like she was fixing my blankets.
What?
But nothing. And every time I woke up, she was there kind of standing over me, or like fixing things even though nothing was moving.
Aww.
And I woke up in the morning and I'm like, that had to have been a dream. I'm like, no, because I woke up 3 times. At one point, I think I even looked at my phone to go, I gotta like register something real here, because this is seeming a little not real. But she still helps us. And she hasn't come down to do that. But that made me feel good, because like I said, I live alone and I was pretty sick, and it's a good feeling. That was very special.
Definitely special.
She's special to me. So.
Oh, well, you never know. Hopefully you never have to get that sick where she has to come back. Maybe she just kind of sneaks in from time and just checks you while you're asleep.
I've had a couple other instances where I've like almost died, and I've had cops say you had somebody looking out for you.
See? And I'm telling you, I believe in that.
My guardian angels have got a lot of work.
Right.
Because I don't know, I get myself into situations, so.
Right. I think my guardian angel's doing this.
Right.
24/7, just this, and then shaking their head, going, why?
Facepalm.
Right.
Exactly.
I have a facepalm angel for sure.
And I only tell stories of things that I'm sure of what they were, because when we started this, I was a skeptic, and I have seen so many things that I didn't believe in. I didn't think channeling was real. I mean, I'll admit this. I didn't believe in a lot of it, but as things have happened and I've seen it time and time again, and I've felt it and I've been there, I have to believe, because it's been shown to me. Otherwise, I'm not going to take someone's word for it. I'm not going to go, yeah, I believe in aliens. I'm like, no, if I haven't seen one or experienced that, I'm going to keep an open mind and go, maybe, maybe not.
Right.
So I'm not an easy sell on things. And of course, we always try to debunk, and the stories that I tell you are things that I'm as sure about as I can possibly be.
For sure.
Yeah.
And working with y'all, I've seen things that, I always go in as, I try to see it as, could this have been that? Could
Exactly.
this have been that? Maybe this happened, just like when we had heard the whistling at the 𝗚𝗲𝗍, but that was definitely something outer worldly. I think everyone kind of froze because it was so clear.
Yeah, I remember that. I lived in apartments where I would have a spirit occasionally would move something. And then for a while there, everything that I couldn't find, I'm like, it's that spirit. And then I'm like, oh, I forgot I left it on the counter. So there's just some things that are not paranormal. I mean, we don't get in the habit of just assuming that it's paranormal, because like I said,
exactly.
I had that in my apartment. I'm like, then everything was paranormal for a while. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. You found it. You left those keys there, didn't you?
Right. If that's the case, ghosts take my phone all the time and move it and hide it. And then I have to ask the Alexa to find my phone, because then I can't find it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're debunkers as well. These are, over the course of years and years and years, these are extenuating circumstances that I'm sharing with you. They are not the norm. They are not every day. There are just regular old investigations and regular old spirits, and everybody has a day job and live normal lives. And we try to help people on the weekends. So Well, I mean, these have been incredible stories. I mean, this is stuff that's just
amazing. Like like I said, we went from level 1, 2, 3, and we topped the level right there to where they're coming back and visiting you and tucking you in. Like that doesn't get any sweeter and more wholesome than a ghost was tucking me in and saved my life. I mean, it doesn't get sweeter than that. Well, I really appreciate everything you shared with me today. I know a lot of it's deep and personal.
It is. I get choked up over it because it's special to me. So thank you for listening, though. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm sure our viewers have really enjoyed it because they may have these experiences they want to share as well.
Yes.
You know, we all doubt ourselves, and at the same time that knowing that they're not alone.
Exactly. I sometimes have shared bits and pieces of these stories with people like friends or just depending, and they'll be like, well, it's funny you say that because I had something to me when I was little or like 10 years ago. And I thought I imagined it, but it kind of sounds like what happened to you. So maybe it really was real. So you're right. I like putting that possibility out there. I'm like, well, maybe,
For sure. I think it's been incredible. And I appreciate, like I said, I know it's deep and personal, especially with all of your gifts and abilities you have. And I've seen you work personally. So there's no doubt, especially since you and I will hear the same name.
I know, right?
The same down to the detail of clothing. And I go, I'll hold back too. And then I wait for you to say something and they go, oh, damn it. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But it's really incredible to have that experience with you. And I'm really glad you shared it with our audience here too.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
I appreciate you coming on. So stay tuned. Be sure to like and to subscribe to our channel because we've got more coming up on Ghost Hunting Beauties.